Hello friends, and welcome to the next challenge in my set of Opentoonz animation challenges that you can find over on my Discord server. And today the challenge is to animate the ball bouncing down some stairs. And as you can see from my completed animation showing on screen, this is to continue working on the infinite bouncing ball but in a more realistic setting. The extra height from the steps adds power to allow the ball to continue to bounce. And there's 2 entries required for this challenge, so stay tuned to the end to find out what they are and how to submit them. And so far in these challenges I've encouraged you to work traditionally, by drawing each drawing by hand, and to submit your sketched entry with no neat lines or colours. And in this challenge I still want to see hand-drawn animation, but I want to introduce a few Opentoonz shortcuts, and you can choose to use them or to draw out each frame by hand. So first, I'll add the steps. So as always, I'll use a Toonz raster level. And as I want each step to be the same size, I'll draw just one of them first. And then I'll use the selection tool at the top of the toolbar here. And I'll select the step. I'll press Ctrl C to copy it. And I'll press Ctrl V to paste it. And I can click and drag that step to join with the first, and I can press Ctrl V again to get another paste of the step, and I'll keep pasting steps down and moving them to join on to create a set of stairs like that. And then as always I'll add a guide layer, so I'll draw an arc for this. So again I create a Toonz raster level, then here I'll draw an arc to imagine the ball bouncing down from the top step to the second, and then bouncing on to the next. So that helps me to figure out the height of the ball. And I want it to bounce this high on each step. So what I'll do again is I'll use the selection tool. I'll highlight one of these arcs, press Ctrl C to copy it, Ctrl V to paste it, and I'll paste the arc following on all the way down the stairs. Including one at the very top. And I'll just change the tint colour of this arc and bring down the transparency. And then I'll untick the top preview button so it won't render out into the final animation. And we'll extend the steps and the guide down for a number of frames. Then add a new level to draw the ball in. And again, I'll use the raster pencil brush. So you can just draw the ball bouncing down the steps here, from the top to bottom. But for a shortcut, I'm going to draw just one of the bouncers, and then we'll duplicate it and use the animate tool to set it moving down the steps. So I'll start off with the ball landed on the step. Slightly squashed like that. And then showing the onion skin, I'll draw the ball at the same height as it's falling down. And then we'll extend drawing number 1. And in between those two, using the onion skins, I'll draw the peak of the bounce. And then I'll do the same by extending the drawing and drawing in between to show the ball either side of the peak. And then one bouncing up towards that peak. And as always, as you go, keep checking your animation by playing it, as well as looking at the onion skins, and if necessary, use the selection tool to move the drawing closer to where it needs to be, or to resize it. So if I show the onion skin going from the peak downwards, you'll see that I've got a mirror image of the same number of balls going up as I have coming down. So this is the same pattern that we've already seen previously, and it's one you want to continue working with when you want to simulate gravity acting on an object that's been thrown into the air. So then after the last ball, I just need one more to show the ball falling towards the ground, and that'll be slightly stretched. Okay, so we've got the bounce going from the squash up into the air and down towards the bounce again. So earlier I talked about adding shortcuts, and what I'm going to do is to use these same 8 drawings for every bounce. So simply you need to highlight them all by clicking and dragging over them, or you can click this green bar to the left of the drawings, which highlights them, and you can press Ctrl+C to copy them, move to the new space, and then press Ctrl+V to paste, or we can use a repeat button. We'll get to that in a second. So now we've got this ball bouncing twice in the same place, we need to adjust where the ball starts from, and we do that using the animate tool at the top left here. And the effect we're trying to achieve is for those 8 drawings to play out in the location where they are. Then we need to move the position of the column to set the next 8 drawings bouncing on the next step. So we don't want any interpolation from one key to the next. And don't worry if that doesn't make too much sense just yet, it will shortly. But what we need to do is to go to the Preferences dialog, then go to the Animation tab and change the default interpolation to constant. This now means that on frame 1, using the Animate tool and in position mode, we notice that the column ball is selected, which is correct. We can now click and drag, and in fact if I turn on the onion skin for the next 8 drawings, we can't quite see enough of the onion skins, so again we'll go back to the Preferences dialog, and on the onion skin tab we'll change the paper thickness, which is currently set at 50. It can change its value from 0 to 100, and if we make it a smaller number, that's the effect of having thinner paper so you can see more of the drawings behind. Let's bring it down to 10. And then if you click away to another text area, that paper thickness is affected straight away and you can see immediately more of the drawings. So let's change it down again to perhaps 5 and click away, and now we can see all 8 drawings. So let's close that dialog, and now on frame number 1, using the Animate tool, I can click and drag up to the top left to show the ball coming in, and then on the next frame 1, I click and drag, and I can move that bounce to start at the bottom here. So it'll play the first 8 frames off camera as the ball comes bouncing in, and on frame number 9 it'll play drawing number 1, which is the first drawing of the next set of 8 frames. So again it'll play those in order. So then we need to copy the 8 drawings again to follow on for the next few steps. So I said you can use copy and paste to duplicate a number of frames. Alternatively, if I highlight those 8 frames, on the X-Sheet toolbar here there's a button precisely for repeating. So click that and you get this dialog pop up, and you can tell it how many times to repeat. So I type in 4 there and hit repeat, and then we get 4 copies of those same 8 drawings. And all we need to do is to go to drawing number 1 for each of those copies, and then move that selection of 8 copies to the next step. So I'll add in an extra onion skin to show the previous drawing, and then on frame 17 I click and drag and move that to follow on from the previous drawing here. And it'll play those 8 frames, and then we want to move drawing number 1 again to the next location, and it'll play those 8. We'll extend the steps and the guide down further, and drawing number 1 again, move that to the next step, and the next step, which then bounces out of the screen. So if I change the play range by dragging this triangle marker to the bottom of the drawings on frame 48, turn off those onion skins, and let's take a look. So now I can see the ball bouncing across the whole screen. You might decide to make more amendments, which you can do by choosing the selection tool and go into whichever frame necessary. Show the onion skin, if need be, and then highlighting over any drawing and adjusting it as necessary. But remember, this is the same drawing used for each bounce. So if I adjust drawing number 3 by bringing that closer to the peak a little bit, drawing number 5, I'll do the same. So that'll give me a slower bounce at the top of the peak. That will be repeated for each of the bounces. So it's not just the one bounce you're affecting, it's all of the bounces. So let's turn on the camera view by clicking the button at the top of the viewer. And I'll hide the guide by clicking at the top of the column header. And here's the finished animation. And as I said earlier, there's 2 entries required for this challenge. First, the animation itself, rendered as a GIF with a plain white background. So I'll add the background by going to the X Sheet menu, Scene Settings. I'll increase the alpha, which makes the background white. I need to change the frame rate from 24 down to 12 to match the play speed I've set up. And then in the output settings, make sure I'm showing from frame 1 to 48 and change the output type to be GIF and hit render. And if necessary, you might choose to change the shrink size. If you bring it down to 2, that renders it out at half the size. And that'll make the file size smaller. And also the render time much quicker. And then the second thing I'd like you to do is to share a screenshot of the onion skins of the whole of your animation, to show the whole animation in a single picture. And the onion skins are something you should be looking at regularly anyway to visualise the movement, but I'd like you to learn how to share the whole view of onion skins. Plus, it'll help me and others to see how your movement is spaced out without analysing the animation in the GIF. So to do it, select the last drawing of the ball on the X sheet or timeline, and then hover to the left of the frame number and you get 2 circles appear. Click and drag on the one furthest to the left, that's further away from the numbers, all the way up to the top of frame 1. And you'll notice that the onion skin images get paler as they get further away from this final drawing, and that's because of the paper thickness. So again, if you open the Preferences menu, go to the Onion Skin tab, move that off to one side, and change the paper thickness down to a smaller number. And for submission for this challenge, 0 is going to be the best number. And we click away. And this means that all the onion skins will be shown in the same colour. And we'll close that. And then we just want to take a screenshot of this and share it on the Discord. You'll notice a couple of extra marks on the screen that we don't want to see in the screenshot. Firstly, there's the camera box, and that removes the X from the middle of the screen. And next is the raster bounding box, which draws this square around the outside of where the Toonz raster level is. So that hides that. So then we can just right click on the viewer and choose full screen mode, and then right click and choose fit to window. And then on a Windows machine, if you hold the Alt key and press print screen, that'll take a copy of that screen into the buffer, and then you can go to the Discord webpage and then press Ctrl V to paste it into there. And don't forget to drag your rendered GIF into the Discord at the same time. But now you can see these onion skins, you might decide they're still not quite spaced out as you'd like them to be. So again, we right click and choose exit full screen mode, and then fit to window. So feel free to use the selection tool and to go to any of the drawings, and then if necessary, highlight them and adjust them to fit the pacing that you want for your animation. So that's the steps challenge. Good luck with it. I hope you can take part, and I look forward to seeing your entries. And I'll be back soon with another video, so why not join me then? So subscribe and hit that bell to not miss it. And I'll see you next time for another challenge. And that's a Darren Tea.